लिंकला बसा, पण लिंक पाठवली ती लिंक पाठवली तुम्हाला, पाठवली लक्षात पाठवली नाही. आता ते आधी सेशन अटेंड करा, ग्रुप म्हणजे अटेंड केलंय, सेंड केलंय लिंक, युट्यूबची लिंक. असं ते जायचं असं ते जाऊ दे, पण पहिल्यांदा ते शेअर 1 तासाचं सेशन आहे, 10:30 संपते सेशन, 11:30 नंतर तुम्ही जाऊ शकता. 11:30 नंतर तुम्ही जाऊ. आता 11:15 पासून सेशन आहे. युट्यूबची लिंक शेअर केली तुमच्या डिव्हाइसवर, क्लासच्या ह्याच्यावर, त्या लिंकला जॉईन करा तुम्ही. हॅलो अनिल सर, नमस्कार.
नमस्कार. काय सर?
काय चालू आहे बघा, गेले अजून काहीच तयारी केली नाही लोकांनी.
काय हरकत नाही.
सांगता सर, आणखी कुठे पुण्यात आहे का तो?
पुण्यात.
मी सांगितलं सगळ्यांना तुम्ही USA मध्ये आहे म्हणून.
हो, पण आहे आमची US कंपनी पण आहे, सिंगापूर पण आहे, जात असतो येत असतो, त्याची काय अडचण नाही.
आणखीन काय म्हणतात, कुठे गावाकडे येतोय नाही परत कधी?
येतो बऱ्यापैकी. भेटूया का
आपल्याकडे?
नक्की
भेटूया का? मला फोन करा, नक्की फोन करा आल्यावर.
नक्की. ते पीपीटी बघू, फुल स्क्रीन शेअर करून बघू, पीपीटी दिसते का तुम्हाला?
हो करायचं, चालेल करायचं.
एक्झिट फुल स्क्रीन ऍक्टिव्हिटी मध्ये जायचं का? स्क्रीन नाही,
शेअर स्क्रीन जायचं.
इथे 3 डॉट आहेत.
3 डॉटला शेअर स्क्रीन म्हणून आहे.
चेंज एक्झिट फुल स्क्रीन, अप्लाय विज्युअली, टर्न ऑन, रिपोर्ट, ट्रबल शूटिंग.
स्टार्टिंग
मी बघतो कुठे प्रेझेंट. Chrome want to share content your screen. आता पुढचं ऑप्शन हे दिसत नाही, ऍक्टिव्ह दिसत नाही, शेअरचं ऑप्शन आहे ना.
माझी दिसते का स्क्रीन तुम्हाला?
1 मिनिट, माझं कॅन्सल करतो. तुमची स्क्रीन दिसते असेल मला.
स्क्रीन दिसते ना?
फुल दिसत नाही, हाफ स्क्रीन दिसते तुमची.
हाफ स्क्रीन दिसते का? आता फुल नाही का?
स्क्रीन दिसत नाही.
स्क्रीन दिसत नाही का?
स्क्रीन दिसत नाही. माझ्याकडे ट्राय करून बघू आणखीन एकदा. आता
इथूनच येतो की
काय म्हटलं? काय सर? मला दिसत नाही इकडे स्क्रीन, पण काय मला
नाही का? बघूया माझं येते का? बघूया आपण. माझं किती येते बघूया. फुल स्क्रीन शेअर स्क्रीन मध्ये माझी हाफ स्क्रीन तुम्हाला दिसते ना?
हो. नाही, हाफ पण आता काहीच दिसत नाही आता सध्या तर. आता फक्त ते हाफ स्क्रीन दिसते बघा.
हाफ स्क्रीन दिसते का?
हो.
आणि हाफ मध्ये आपण दिसते का? आपण दिसते का बघा?
नाही, जे स्क्रीन ब्रॅकेट आहे ना त्याच्यामध्ये फक्त एक थोडासा पोर्शन दिसतंय, बाकी इकडे तर बाजूला आपण दिसतोय, पण जे फुल स्क्रीन दिसायला पाहिजे ना ते दिसत नाही.
हां हां
तर मी बघू, माझ्या बाजूने बघू.
हां फुल स्क्रीन आता बघा येते का? आता सर येते का?
नाही येते, पण तो पोर्शन अर्धाच दिसतोय, म्हणजे ते जे तुम्ही मोबाईलवरून ओपन केले का?
हा मोबाईलवरून ओपन केलं.
हा, त्याच्यामुळे स्क्रीन खूप छोटी दिसते.
हां हां
नाही चालते, मी बघतो माझ्याकडनं होतंय का, आणि मग नाही झालं तर मग तुम्हाला सांगतो हे करायला. मी माझ्या बाजूने पण ओपन ठेवतो फुल स्क्रीन, आणि त्याच्यामध्ये प्रेझेंट. एक मिनिट, मी ट्राय करतो का सर माझ्या बाजूने. मला फक्त शेअरचं ऑप्शन येत नाही. हा आलं, एक मिनिट. तुम्हाला दिसतंय प्रेझेंटेशन काय सर?
नाही, तुम्ही दिसतच नाही त्या गोष्टी. मला दिसतंय का माझं ना? तुम्ही दिसताय हा.
आणि पाठीमागची स्क्रीन प्रेझेंटेशन?
हा दिसते स्क्रीन दिसते.
म्हणजे खूप स्क्रीन झाल्या वाटतं मला.
हा स्क्रीन झाल्या भरपूर.
स्क्रीन झाल्या. काही नाही, तुम्ही तुमच्या बाजूने फक्त ओपन ठेवा, आणि मग मी माझ्या बाजूने प्रेझेंटेशन करत जातो. माझ्या बाजूचं प्रेझेंटेशन ओपन ठेवा.
बरोबर चालेल, तसं करूया. चालतंय. हो तसंच चालतंय. दोन मिनिटं.
शुअर.
हाँ उनको 11:15 बोला, जल्दी छोड़ कर नहीं बोला उनको, 11:15 बोला था उनको, और बोलने के बोला था उनको. मुलांना मला त्यांनी डायरेक्ट बोलले मी त्यांचे सुपरवायझर नव्हतो, बाहेर पण आवाज पाहिजे त्यांनी सोडला. आणि तुमची स्क्रीन दिसते बघा.
दिसतंय ना? परफेक्ट. आता मी हेच करत होतो.
हा दिसत.
सेकंड याची मुलं बसवली ते तुम्ही याचं बघितलं स्पीकर
स्टार्ट झाले त्यांनी तर जॉईन केले.
नंतर मध्येच आहे म्हणून तुम्ही म्हणा ना आहे म्हणून प्रत्येकाकडे वर्गात आहे. युट्यूब चॅनल आहे तुमचं? सांगते नंतर. अटेंड करा. मीच ऑर्गनाईज करतो तेव्हा नंतर घ्या माझी 11:30. नवीन इन्स्टिट्यूट आहे, काहीच माहित नाही इथलं, थोडस प्रॉब्लेम होते. दिसते सर,
परफेक्ट.
दिसते. हा, तुम्ही स्वतःला बघितला युट्यूबला?
आपल्या ग्रुपला टाकले. काय करतो माझं काम करतो.
They're not.
हॅलो अनिल सर चालू करूया
बिलकुल.
हॅलो गुड मॉर्निंग ऑल.
Good morning.
Myself Dr. Kazi Kutubuddin. I'm going to introduce this session, today's webinar. This webinar is organized by Institution Innovation Council (IIC) and IETE of SKN Singh College of Engineering, Pandharpur, on lean startup and minimum viable product for members of IIC and IETE and also other students of SKN Singh College of Engineering, Pandharpur. The lean startup method advocates developing products that consumers have already demonstrated they desire, so that a market will already exist as the product is launched. Lean startup is an approach to building new business based on belief that entrepreneur must investigate, experience, test, and iterate as they develop the product. The objective of IIC is to foster the culture of innovation in an institute. So, to promote the innovation business ideas, to orient the students about entrepreneurship and assist them to initiate a startup. The function of IIC is to identify and record the innovations and share success stories, organize periodic workshops with entrepreneurs, investors, professionals for students' innovation. It is the moment of extreme pleasure to welcome the guests who are present to attend this webinar. On behalf of Institute SKN Singhad College of Engineering, Pandharpur, I offer my regards to all the staff and students joining here. I convey my regards to Chief Guest, Mr. Anil Birajdar. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation. I also convey my regards to our beloved Principal, sir, Dr. K.J. Karande, sir, Vice Principal, sir, Dr. S.G. Kulkarni, sir, and Head of Department, Dr. Altaf Molani, sir. I invite Professor Mrs. Utpat Madam to introduce today's chief guest, Mr. Anil Birajdar.
Good morning, all. It would be my immense pleasure to introduce our today's eminent speaker, Mr. Anil Birajdar. He is Master of Science in Microsystem Engineering. He completed his Master's from German University. He completed his Bachelor degree in Electronics from Shivaji University. Mr. Anil is a co-founder of Bhishma Advisor Private Limited, also a founder partner of Bhishma Advisory Singapore. He is a founder manager of Bhishma Advisory USA. Mr. Anil is a board member of Avid Technologies India from year 2008. Avid has subsidiaries in more than 30 countries and it's listed New York Stock Exchange. Also, he is a board member of B Body Smart Private Limited from March 2020. It has subsidiaries in 10 plus countries and as a group listed on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Mr. Anil is a part of local management team and associate director of corporate service provider based on UAE, and previously having a stint at various designations with the CSP in Brazil, Netherlands, Antilles, and in Germany. He has over 15 plus years of global experience in cross-border structuring and international tax solutions. Also, he successfully incorporated over 700 corporate structures in over 40 plus jurisdictions. So, I invite Mr. Anil to guide us on lean startup and minimum viable product or businesses.
First of all, thank you so much for the kind introduction, madam. And thanks, Kaji sir, for inviting and giving us opportunity to speak on very interesting topic currently going across the globe is lean startup and the minimum viable product. So we will start the presentation. Before that, I forgot to mention in my profile, I did my Polytechnic from Barshi and did engineering from PVPIT Sangli. So for people's reference, we mention it as a Shivaji University. As you know, across the globe, people will not know what is PVPIT. So quickly about ourselves, so you can correlate what exactly we do and all other things. So even once upon a time, and still we consider ourselves as a startup. So name of our firm is Bhishma Advisory. We started it in July 2015 in Bangalore. Before that, I spent around 10 years overseas. So I almost worked 3 years in Germany, then moved to Brazil, spent 3 years in Brazil, 1 year in Caribbean, and 3.5 years in Dubai before moving to India. So along with one of my colleagues in Dubai, one day we thought we should also give a try and see whether it can work. With leap of faith, we moved to Bangalore from Dubai and started Bhishma Advisory. Currently, we have 35 employees. Most of our employees are from the law background. I'm the only one who has an engineering background. We have 2 offices. One is in Bangalore, one is in Pune, and 2 overseas offices. One is in Singapore and one is in USA. Currently, we manage 432 plus clients in more than 40 plus countries across the globe. Our clients are from different backgrounds. Few of them are from consulting, few of them from IT, pharma, few of them from manufacturing, and quite a few are the HNI, means high net worth individuals also we do the client. So quickly timeline, 2015 we started in Bangalore, then 2016 we onboarded almost 75 plus clients. Then we multiplied in next 1 year around 150 clients. Then 2018 we started Pune office. Again, the graph was good till COVID came up. Then in 2020, we did a Singapore office. Then 2020 was still decent year for us. We onboarded 400 plus our clients. And this year, last month, we started our own US office. So this is the slide which I will take the end, and we will discuss that point of time why startups should go global. But please do stop in between. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to take the questions in between, or we can do even at the end. But please feel free to stop wherever it's required. So the topic has been chosen, very, very interesting topic is lean startup and minimum viable product. So before we go, what is lean startup? It would be very, very important to understand what is exactly definition of a startup. So if you ask me, there is no definition of startup per se. So anyone who is planning to start or work on an idea, so idea can be brought by students, it can be entrepreneurs, and who thinks that that idea can be implemented or developed into a product or into a service, and it can be scalable over the period of time. Generally, startups refers to new businesses that intend to grow large beyond the solo founder. As we have seen that BharatPay, Flipkart, Oyo was started by one guy, Flipkart started by two guys, BharatPay more or less same story. But over the period of time, you need a team, you need a people where that startup can take to different level altogether. So startup can be started with $1, startup can be started with $1 million, and it can be scalable to beyond $1 billion also at the same time. The other things, we always see the success stories, but hardly we pay attention to the failure of the startups. So if there are 10 startups, from our experience, 6 to 7 startup closes in the first year itself, 1 or 2 closes in the next 2 years, and only 1 startup survives out of 10. That is the standard ratio across the globe. The main reason for the failure, most of the times, the ideas are not great. Sometimes ideas are great, but the implementation is not great. Sometimes idea implementation, both are great, but they run out of the funding. Sometimes you have all three, but at the time, with the interest, the people started the company. Once it grows at a certain level, the interest differs. Sometimes there is quarrel between the shareholders and directors, and which take different turn. Rather than the increasing the business, it get into personal matters. So most of the successful startups started by the people who encountered the real-time challenges. Especially, I would like to take the example of Byju classes. As most of you might be knowing, the Byju's, the founder, earlier he was working in UK. And that point of time, he was helping one of his cousin to prepare for the CAT exam. And it was the 2009-2010 time where the internet was not that great. Though internet was great on that side, this part of the world, internet was not that great. So what he used to do is he used to create videos, and he used to share with his cousin. Over the period of time, by following his videos, he cleared the CAT exam. Then he informed to his few friends. So he got an idea that I should start the classes. And surprisingly, within 1 year, almost 2,000 students enrolled for his classes. And then he got into touch with one of the advisor, and his advisor suggested him that this idea can be scalable. And then they incorporated the company called as a Think and Learn Private Limited. And now across the globe, everybody knows what does exactly Byju does and how big it is a firm. So few successful startups in the last decade, especially I have taken the startups which are highly successful into Indian market, both which I have seen, everybody have seen in the Shark Tank, how that business was modeled. The Make My Trip, Ola, Paytm, Book My Show, Swiggy. So all these startups mostly on the service side, and they are considered as an aggregator. So Ola doesn't have their own cabs or their own drivers. What they do is they provide the platform. Vice versa with Make My Trip. Make My Trip doesn't own any airlines, or they don't have any hotels, but they bring customer and the service industry together on their common platform. Similar with the Swiggy, as you know, Swiggy doesn't run any restaurant, at least as of now. They are just into food delivery business. So they act as a kind of a bridge between the customer and the company, where they can make the money and create the immense employment at the same time. So coming back to the main topic, which is given to me today to speak on the what is lean startup and why it's making the waves across the globe. So lean means you have to keep the model as economical, as less possible, and as cost effective also at the same time. So if you have an idea and you want to make a product or service out of it, as there is a famous quote, it says that ideas are not important. The implementation is the key. Execution is the key. So as we all know, everybody has an idea, but who implement, there are very few people, even you can count those on the fingers. So if you have an idea, you can build and work around that idea, then you create a code. Code not necessarily mean it in terms of like creating this program or something. Code means checking the model, how the model can be more feasible for the market. At the same time, one model cannot work for everyone. So you need to keep measuring the model. The model which work in the rural part, it might not work in the 2-tier city, or 2-tier city model might not work in the metropolitan city. At the same time, once you start measuring the model, you need to analyze the data. As everybody keeps saying these data is new oil. So oil, in the sense, data is as important as these days, the crude oil. So you can analyze the data, and as per analyzation, you can fix that this model can be worked for, especially for Solapur. This model can be worked for Mumbai, but this cannot be worked for Delhi. It might go with the region, it might go with the influence, it might go with the culture. And at the same time, after analyzing data, you should keep learning and keep adding the new ideas. So that's exactly lean startup. If you see, the graph goes continuously improving, and it goes in the circle. So the lean startup method consists of 3 basic stages. There are more stages, but I thought I will just take the 3 main stages. The build. So whenever you have to build with some vision. You should have a business idea and you think you should work. Before anyone believe into idea, so most of the times if you ask your idea to 10 people, you might see only 2 or 3 people support your idea. And at the end of the day, even not one person will be stand behind your idea when it comes to implementation. So if you believe in your idea, you should just go ahead and start doing the experiment with it. And at the same time, it's not about the building. At the same time, you need to keep measuring also. So you will evaluate the result, validate, and keep adding the new features. So the one product, whatever we doing today, it might be not relevant for the market after 3 years, or with the pace the technology is developing, even not validate for next 6 months. That is the reason we see either it's Oppo +1, every 6 months they launch the new phones. There are very minimal features, but still they keep launching the new products and learn. So based on the data obtained, decide whether you move forward and revise the hypothesis, discard all ideas together. So you have to, whatever is not working, you have to keep filtering out, and you need to keep adding the new feature. So whenever I was doing my master's in Germany, they always used to give an example of that time Sony CyberShot camera was very popular. So generally Sony is one of the company which never reduces the cost, but it keep adding the features into it. So that is the reason people love Sony as a product. So what is the most important in the lean startup? So the lean startup method allow organization to launch new digital products or services environments with huge uncertainty. As I mentioned, the uncertainty and startup are the part of the same coin. So if anyone want to say that I will start the startup and ensure it will be successful, who doesn't want? Everybody want the startups should be successful. But we have seen people whose 5 startups, 7 startups failed, but they have done phenomenally well in the 8 startup, 9 startup. And few people get lucky, or they have brilliant idea where the first idea itself works very well and they make a big impact on the society. Another thing is, as mentioned earlier, either innovate and adapt or die. So innovation is the constant process. As you might have seen, there was earlier quite a few popular startups which already died in India, especially there was earlier startup was Food Panda, which was a pre-launch, way before Swiggy and Zomato. They made quite a bit impact, but they didn't keep with innovation. Another one, the best example will be Nokia phones. So when we were doing our engineering, there was only one phone people used to know is a Nokia, which was capturing almost 90% market, and there was only 5 or 7% was Motorola. We never heard even that point of time what was Apple, what was Samsung. But over the period of time, as they do not keep up the pace with the technology development, people choice, that's how they vanishes. And that's how Samsung and iPhone has taken over. And we are seeing after Samsung and iPhone, how other Chinese phones also giving the tough competition when it comes to the innovation. So the survival is very simple. If you innovate, it will survive. If you don't innovate and adapt, the startup will die. So what is MVP? So basically, MVP is one of the concept which is brought out by Eric Rice. So he just mentioned you need to find a minimum viable product. You don't need to have some brilliant idea or something which is extraterritorial. First, you need to build, you need to measure, you need to learn, keep experimenting with the possible products. At the same time, you need to take care of the market also. See, market demands A and you keep innovating B and C, the model will not be work for a very long time and it will not sustain, because cash flow is the very crucial part in any company. Especially service industry still can survive for a little longer time, but product industry, which is very capital intensive, at the same time, most of the times bank interest loans are on very larger scale. So it's very difficult, the startups with the product, if there is cash flow crunch is there. And even this likewise with the service industry also, but service industry at least sustain, because in service industry, generally the loss is the opportunity loss, but the product industry, you really burn the cash day in and day out. So I would like to take a classic example of MVP. So you just need to pay attention to the Venn diagram, the possible products and market. So most of us must be knowing, initially the Zomato was just into the restaurant business. They used to give the grading, they used to give the coupons, they used to give the ratings so people can see and go to visit the restaurants by trusting Zomato as a brand, as they genuinely used to give the rating to the restaurants. But then Swiggy entered into the market, completely opposite of Zomato. Swiggy's whole business was just delivering the foods. So bringing the food from customer, from the hotel to the place of the customer. Over the period of time, Zomato has observed that even food delivery is way larger business as compared to what they are exactly doing, the grading and all other things. So slowly but steadily, Zomato also entered into the same business of Swiggy. So whenever we go around, you can see the Swiggy guy, and just behind him, you will see the Zomato guy. So they were competing among each other. So most of the times, everybody thought, now already two big players are there. Swiggy is already there, Zomato is already there. How a small business can sustain? And there, exactly as it's mentioned, MVP came into the picture. So there you need to come with the different idea. When Swiggy and Zomato, they were competing for delivering the food. Then at the same time, within 2 years, there is another startup which came into the picture. That was, you might have heard most of us, is Dunzo. So Dunzo find their niche saying that, okay, we will do the food delivery, but food delivery is not our core business. And Swiggy doesn't used to deliver the courier packages, pet supplies, grocery, medicines, meat and fish. So Dunzo said, whatever you give us, we are ready to deliver. And that's how Dunzo also created their own market space. And Dunzo is a classic example of minimum viable product. And they're going pretty big these days. So 5 tips for creating the digital minimum viable product and beating the odds. The first, defining the product. So whomever is creating the product, they themselves should be very or absolutely clear about their products. What is their product? Whether they know 360 degree of the product, what is the maximum utilization, or which environment, which market it can sustain. Second, selecting the most valuable features. So one product can be used for multiple things. As we have seen, Ola, Uber, there are quite a few other startups also. We can see the Paperfry and even the laundry and all other things. But we have seen quite a few startups, they choose their product and service very wisely. So few laundry startups, they exclusively concentrate on the hotel laundry, which is very big business as compared to the minimal, the general laundry they collect from the people. So few people do very well when it comes to the general laundry. At the same time, controlling cost and getting the estimates. So the future projections, so it's always keep saying in the startup world, so minimum 6 or maximum 18 to 24 months, cash should be in your hand. That is the time, the way the pandemic happened, we have seen how many companies or how many businesses got closed. The people who survive, sustained, and now after pandemic are thriving, who exactly work on the step 3, controlling the cost and getting the estimate. So having the future projections is very crucial to sustain any startups. And once you cross that threshold, definitely the thrive is the only way forward. Putting teams together. So generally, we always advise our client, or we always have seen inside our company also. So whomever has starting the company, always better instead of one, there are 2 founder, 3 founder. At the same time, the founder skill should be complementary to each other. There might be 3 founders, both are excellent in programming, but who will go out in the market and say that, okay, this is the kind of product you need and we have the niche and we have created it. All 3 programmers, they can be, but it's very difficult for them to go and do the marketing. But if there are 2 programmers and 1 marketing guy, that will be ideal combination. Or sometimes all 3 guys are excellent sales, but they don't have a good product. So that is again very difficult to sell over the period of time, and eventually the startup will die. And the final mantra of any startup is start small and iterate. The smaller you start, and if the growth is organic, the possibility is very, very less the startup will fail. So most of the startups we have seen over the period of time, they initially first 3 years, they get into development of the product, getting initial funding and all other things. And real growth will come into the picture after 5 years or 6 years. There are very few, sometimes few startups has done the wonders in 1 or 2 years, but those startups, you can count on the finger. And I will take, as I mentioned earlier of my presentation, the first slide, where why then the startups, once the scalable model is there, they should go global. First of all, as students, so you know the value of the IP. Either it's a patent, either it's a trademark. So the real asset in the company is not the office or not the chairs or not, whatever the cars they have. The real asset, what are the intangibles you have into your company? So the trademark should be registered, the patent should be registered. So the real value any investor sees into your company is how many patents you have, how many trademarks you registered, whether it's registered in India, whether it's registered overseas also. At the same time, when you have the overseas company for your startup, it makes easy for you receiving the payment, making the payment. Same time, if you present yourself as a Singapore-based company, US-based company, the value of the companies goes high in the multiple fold. At the same time, other jurisdictions, especially, they are very tax efficient and easy for the operations also. And sometimes, if the startup goes to place like a Europe, and in Europe especially, though from this side of the world we say Germany as one country, Netherlands as one country, but once you travel to Europe and you go to Europe, you see Europe is kind of a borderless within EU. So you will not see the difference when you're crossing to Germany to Netherlands. At the same time, with the product, with the company and startups, so the transaction can happen in Euro across more than 24 plus countries across the Europe. So those are the things. I will just show the last slide, the few of our clients, and I'll be more than happy to take any questions. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is pretty much from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anil, sir, for giving such a nice information.
Pleasure, sir.
Okay, students are informed to write the questions in YouTube link. If you have any question, please write your question there. So we'll ask to Anil, sir. Okay, the question was there from Ashok Kadam.
Sure.
Sir, the question was, why you started USA or Singapore etc.?
So generally, if you have your overseas presence, generally the main reason you should go overseas when you think your business model is scalable. So if the business model has already existed in India and it's working pretty well, at the same time, if you test the same model, especially like a UAE, especially like a Singapore, where the Indian population is dominated, so the probability of getting that the same model successful over there is more than 90%+ plus. So that is the reason Ola is already in more than 10 plus countries. Oyo already is in more than 20 plus countries across the globe. So once you know that it works here, generally there is probability is very high it will work somewhere else also. So that is the whole reason we have set up our own office in Singapore and US also.
Okay, sir, I want to ask one question to you.
Please.
Do you share with us any your experience to start up the business in either USA or in Brazil?
Yeah, we have 2-3 clients from Pune, and those guys are into digital marketing. And initially, when they started in India, they used to bill in INR. So, like hourly, their billing was around 3,000 rupees, 4,000 rupees. And when we met, we told them that your business model is pretty scalable. And in US, for the same kind of a work where you get 3,000 rupees, their minimum you get 10,000 rupees. The reason being, so the minimum hourly rate in US for any technical work is around $150. That up to very junior level. Senior level is pretty high. So then over the period of time, they even closed the Indian company and they set up the US company. And now they are having 35 plus employees in US, in the sense under US company, but they spread across the globe and they are doing pretty well. So if the model is tested here and it's working, definitely it will work somewhere else also. That's how most of the people, once it's implemented and successful, what remains is copy paste and execute.
Is there any question from student side? Is there any question from student side? Please share your question. Okay, so students are not asking any question.
No problem. If they have any question, they can even, as I said, you can collect and send across, and we'll be more than happy to revert over WhatsApp or email also.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Definitely, I will share their questions. Whatever the questions are there with you, so that we can solve their problem, if any problem was there for the students. So I would like to invite Vaishnavi madam to give the vote of thanks.
It would be an honor to express a vote of thanks on behalf of Sinhagad Institute. Thank you very much, Mr. Anil Birajdar, for giving your valuable time and very quality information session. I would like to thank to Dr. Altaf Mulani, HOD, ENTC Department, for his support and motivation to conduct this session. I would like to thank IISc Vice President, Dr. Kazi Sir, IISc President and Vice Principal Dr. S.G. Kulkarni for his support. Also, I would like to thank Honorable Principal Dr. K.J. Karande for his contribution. Thank you one and all. With the permission of Chair, I declare this session is over. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much once again. And indeed, it was a pleasure talking to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Good day. Yeah. Bye.
Good day.